Oh boy, I finally did it. I have been playing Nintendo games all my life. I think I've played most of the major Nintendo games, but there's always been one that's eluded me. Metroid Prime. I'm a huge fan of 2D Metroid, but Metroid Prime, the 3D Metroid series, I've never played. Well, with the recent release of Metroid Prime Remastered, I can finally say I have beaten the first Metroid Prime game. Let's talk about it. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. If you enjoyed this little review, rant, discussion, whatever I want to end up calling this thing here, please subscribe for more Nintendo videos like this pretty much each and every day. Have more reviews coming in the very near future. So I wanted to do a video as soon as possible, giving my thoughts on Metroid Prime. I literally just beat, and we'll be talking full spoilers here, so I literally just beat Metroid Prime. The boss, literally, rolled credits, and I wanted to just get my raw thoughts out there as fast as possible while they're still very fresh. I was talking to my buddy Abram about this in the Backlog Banter server. I'm sure he's watching this video, maybe. I don't know how I feel about Metroid Prime, and I know it's one of those things, right? You hear people praising this game for your entire life, and then you play it, and it maybe doesn't live up to those expectations. So, like, mentally, I don't know how to cope with that. You know, I love 2D Metroid. 2D Metroid is like my baby. I finally beat Samus Returns, which was the last one I hadn't played earlier this year. But Metroid Fusion and Metroid Dread especially are two of my favorite games of all time. I freaking love those games. So, growing up, my brother had Metroid Prime 3 on Wii, and I tried playing that as a kid. And even that, I remember not really liking. And I think I know why, but we'll get into that. And to clarify, it's not that I don't like Metroid Prime. In fact, I really do quite like it. But in the lens of comparing it to 2D Metroid, I personally don't even think it's close. I don't even think it comes close to reaching the highs of what 2D Metroid does. Because what I think Retro did, and what it feels like they did, is they literally took a 2D Metroid game and just made it 3D, which is what Sonic did. And that doesn't work. It just does not translate as well to 3D, in my personal opinion. The biggest reason for this being, I play Metroid fast. Metroid, in my view, is a fast video game. Hell, I'm pretty sure even by modern 2D Metroid standards, in terms of Samus Returns and Dread, they design it to be played fast. Metroid Prime is slow. This is a slow game with slow combat, with slow, lore build-up, with slow exploration, slow backtracking. It is a very slow game. For me, that's not what I want out of Metroid. I play all the 2D Metroids fast, but like I said, especially those two recent ones with the counter, they really emphasize running through the game. Metroid Prime wants you to sit back and relax and scan everything and read all the text logs and then go back through Magmore Caverns 30 times. And I think for me, that core design, that core design just doesn't translate to 3D as well as I would have liked. That is my main issue with the game, however. Most other parts of it are really fantastic. The boss fights, incredible. The actual locations, and definitely like the world is good. The planet, Talon 4, is good. I just don't like backtracking through it. The music, fantastic. The enemy, I want to say variety, but also it kind of got a little stale. When I first saw Chozo Ghost, that was hype. I was so excited when I saw that, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But even having all of the different space pirates that have, like, the different colors, so you have to use your different, beams on your cannon, that's good. I mean, it's pretty basic, but I like that. Visually, the game looks incredible on Switch, though, in my personal opinion, it is one of the more boring-looking Nintendo franchises. It kind of looks bland. It's like they made Halo. It's like they made a Nintendo Halo game, or like a Nintendo Call of Duty. It's one of the only realistic-looking Nintendo games that exist, aside from Twilight Princess, if I want to call it that realistic. I don't like the way Twilight Princess looks. 2D Metroid, keeping that comparison going, is very bright, it's very colorful, and it pops. Metroid Prime it's brown and ugly. That's not to say the game doesn't look good, but it doesn't pop, it's not colorful, and that for me is another reason I love 2D Metroid. Even Metroid Dread, which was, I want to say, a little bit darker and just, it's more like black and whites, it still pops more than this. The first thing I really want to talk about, though, is the controls. So I tried to play this a few months ago, actually, on the Wii, the Prime Trilogy, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wait until this February Direct, see if it finally gets revealed there. Lo and behold, it did. I tried playing with the Wiimote controls, and it didn't work for me. I know people stand by Prime Trilogy on Wii. I was not getting it. I didn't like it, having to move your thumb up to the D-pad to switch stuff, and it didn't work for me. The Wiimote, in my opinion, not great for Metroid Prime. So when they announced this Prime Remaster, I was really excited that it was using the Switch Pro Controller. You can just lock on with ZL and just do it that way. The game certainly still has control issues. I think the switching between different types of like bombs and most importantly visors and beams for your arm cannon, it's a little slow. I think even in Prime Trilogy, they have like a, like the spin wheel, and then you select it. In this game, you have to hold X and then press on the D-pad for your beams, and then for the visor, it's just left on the D-pad, or down on the D-pad, whatever it is. This is probably the best controlling version of Metroid Prime that I've played. I think I played a little bit of GameCube Metroid Prime way back in the day, but I don't remember anything from that. And like I said, the Wii Prime Trilogy just did not work for me. So in that aspect, good work to Retro. In terms of a remaster or remake, this is pretty much everything you could have asked for. It is an insane visual overhaul from the original version. My reaction, I wasn't sure because once again, obviously, I hadn't played Metroid Prime. I couldn't really remember what it looked like, and I was like, is that a remake? It kind of looks the same to me. No, it's obvious. It's not even close. This is probably one of the best remakes Nintendo's ever done. So, round of applause to Retro. They did this thing really, really good overall. Now, I'm going to talk about the combat for a little bit. So, my thoughts on this, and my thoughts on the entire game kept shifting as I was playing through. The combat, at first, I thought was really bad. Like, just boring and bad. It's slow. Because the first few areas, there's no real enemies until you get to, was it Fendragra's Edge or whatever, wherever the place is where the lights go out and there's a lot of space pirates in the facility. That is when the combat actually starts getting a little bit interesting, but I don't know if it gets interesting in a good way. This game kind of feels like an on-rail shooter at times, the way the combat works. Aside from boss fights, which, like I said, are incredible, in the first couple areas, there's just bugs, and they'll, the bees will fly in your face, and you just gotta shoot them and lock on. But they don't really attack you that much, so you're just kind of like, okay, I'm walking through this area. Oh, gotta take care of these real quick, then move on. Half the time, you can just walk past them. Where in 2D Metroid, that's not really an option, unless you have like the super dash and you just run through them. But then once you get to the space pirates, it's a little bit more interesting. But also it gets a little repetitive, especially the way the game handles respawns. I don't know what the exact rule set in place here is, but it seems like once you leave a couple rooms and then go back, they all just respawn. That's annoying, especially in the second half of the game where you're fighting these pirates that take a lot of hits. It got a little tedious, especially like I said in the second half of the game, but the phase-on mines, especially going back through there to get artifacts, going through these rooms, even fighting the I think it's what are they called, fission Metroids. It got a little tedious. The gunplay is not great, and it's not really meant to be a gunplay kind of game, but for me it just doesn't work as well as a 2D Metroid, for example. I don't even think it works as well as many other first person shooters I played, so I don't really know what the appeal here is. It's fine, it's okay, but it's not great, and like I said, the enemy variety is okay, they have all those bugs and stuff in the beginning, but then you get into the space pirates, and I want to say, I feel like if this were Breath of the Wild, this is a great example. People give Breath of the Wild a ton of crap for just having these higher level moblins and macablins that are different colors. That's literally what this game does. That's all this game does. And I mean, yeah, it still has the weird little lava snake thing that comes out. There is variety. But the core, the main area of the game that you're going to be spending a lot of time in, at least that I spent a lot of time in, was the phase-on mines. That's where I probably spent a majority of the game, it feels like. Maybe I'm just coming off that, kind of hot. You're just fighting space pirates, and they all are the same, basically, but you have to switch to your different arm cannon beam. It's not bad, but it's not very good either, in my opinion. Now let's talk about the world. So, like I said, Talon 4... it's a cool planet. I like the planet. I like the different areas. However, backtracking in a 3D space, not very fun. At least not in this game. And I was talking to my friend Caleb about this because he was watching me play it. I almost wonder if maybe, this is going to sound crazy, maybe if the field of view was wider, it would feel different. But every room just kind of feels like a small claustrophobic box or a corridor. Where in 2D Metroid, you don't really have that. But also in 2D Metroid, like I said, you can run through it way faster. When I realized, oh crap, I need to go all the way to the other end of the map in Metroid Prime, that is like, oh, it's just a sigh. I just sigh when I know I have to do that, because it's not fun to go back through an area you've already been through in this game. It's just not. You know, I love Metroidvanias, and I love doing even like 3D Metroidvanias, like a Resident Evil game. I like doing that. In that case, the zombie stays dead though, so it's a lot more simple just to go back through. I think another big portion of my issue with this game could be alleviated if there was fast travel. And I know it's a GameCube game, and once again, I mean, if I was playing this in 2003, 2001, whenever it came out, 2002, I'm sure this game was absolutely groundbreaking at the time, you know, coming off of what, Halo and like Doom and stuff. Yeah, sure. But man, a fast travel system would have helped a lot. You know, having to go back at the end of the game, especially getting the artifacts so I can go fight Meta Ridley and then Metroid Prime. I was so done. Because I realized, so like, I want to say like 4 or 5 of the artifacts I got naturally by either just playing and finding them, or by using the hints that the statues give you in the main little Chozo Plaza at the crash site, right? And then I got tired of that, so I just used the guide, tell me which area to go to. So I, you know, full disclosure, I did use a guide for that stuff. But then I realized, like, oh man, the last one I need to get is all the way down in the Phazon Mines. I was so sad. And then there was a cool boss fight there, sure, which helped make it feel a little bit more justified. But man, that was not fun. If fast travel had been a thing, it would have been so much smoother. It would have been so much cleaner. And I guess maybe it's a little bit on myself for not doing it as I went, but the game never really pushed me to go for those artifacts as I was playing through. You know, they mentioned them a couple times, but I don't know. For me, at least, first time playing the game, it kind of felt like it was on the back burner, and then I was like, oh, I need to get them all right now. That kind of sucked. So that partially on me and the way I played the game, but I imagine a lot of people would end up doing the same thing first time playing the game. You know, adding backtracking. There was so basically it was like there was a whole backtracking section at the end of the game, despite the fact that the entire game you're just constantly backtracking. And this is one thing that I think 2D Metroid does a lot better, at least Metroid Dread at the very least, because that's the most recent in my mind, and Samus Returns. You don't really be going back to other areas once you finish it. Like, 2D Metroid has a really interesting design where it's almost like linear progression with the it makes you feel like you have a lot of say in what you're doing, but the reality is they almost never give you that many options. I like that style. It pushes you. It very much pushes you in a direction, and then once you get to a new area, once you go through a little elevator in 2D Metroid, there's typically not going to be a reason to go back for a while, unless you're going back to get upgrades or whatever it is. Or in the case of, you know, Dread and Samus Returns, they literally will just tell you, like, hey, there's a beep boop over there, go get it. You know, Super Metroid, I think there was a lot of backtracking in that and going back to other areas constantly. But in Metroid Prime, the point being, you are constantly going through every area at all times, you know? At least that's what it felt like to me. Maybe that's in part due to this game being longer than a 2D Metroid game. I think it's probably about like double the length. A 2D Metroid game takes me like 6 to 7 hours to beat. This game took me like 15. So maybe that's why it also felt a little bit long in the tooth there in terms of the backtracking. But, you know, having the entire game, you're backtracking, and then also just having that backtracking section at the end for the artifacts. That also, I think, soured my mood a little bit. But I just want to clarify here. I am completely ripping this game apart, I feel like. I did enjoy it, and looking back, I can see why people like it. I just need to separate myself from comparing it to 2D Metroid. If I step away from that, I think it's a good game. I would probably say it's like an 8 out of 10, you know, 7.5, 8 out of 10. It's a good game, but going into it, I guess, with these high expectations of people saying it's the greatest Nintendo game ever made, it's currently the highest reviewed game of the year on Metacritic, which is crazy. I guess my expectations were just out of check. You know, it is a very dated game. Visually, it looks good, although I think the art direction is a little boring, but I get that it fits for Metroid. But yeah, the combat's not great. The backtracking was just kind of I dreaded it, pun intended, every time I knew I had to do it. And then even the upgrades, there are some really cool upgrades in this game, but most of them are pretty basic. I like all the morph ball stuff, even the stupid stuff like the boost where you have to go up the half pipes. It doesn't really work that well, but I like that. Or like the, you know, the the sticky stuff where you go on the walls. I mean, that's not new to Metroid, but it recontextualizes it in a pretty fun way in 3D. The visor stuff, however, oh my god, what were they thinking? When I got to that facility where the lights go out, and I had to play the game in that thermal vision, I wanted to die. That's not fun. You can barely see the damn game. I was so frustrated. And then especially when you have to backtrack through that area a couple times. No, I was like, are you serious? It's so poorly designed. The visors work good in like the final boss fight when you're just doing it quickly, but when you're just telling me, okay, turn on the thermal vision and explore and go through this area for 30 minutes to an hour looking at these purples and thermals and yellows and reds, it's not good. That was very bad. The x-ray vision's okay, but that thermal vision really, that was not good. So yeah, like I said, it's a weird game. Like, coming off of it, I can see why people like it so much, but I don't think it's for me. To be completely honest, I will respect people that love this and love it more than 2D Metroid, but I really don't think it's for me. You know, I am going to eventually play Prime 2 and 3 and get through it, and then I'm excited for Prime 4. I think maybe a modernization to that degree, which I assume will be a pretty drastic departure for Metroid Prime with Prime 4, you know, 15 years after the last one. They'll probably modernize a lot of the things that I'm complaining about. Fast travel, less backtracking, all of these things. But as it stands, Metroid Prime I think it's a good game. But it just doesn't even hold a candle, in my opinion, to really any of the 2D Metroid games. But, once again, incredible music, and especially incredible boss fights. I think the boss fights in this game top anything in 2D Metroid. Like, 100%. They're very fun. And that's when the combat really shines. I'm jumping around here. This is a ramble review. The combat really shines in those boss fights. But in, like, even like, you know, Finding Metroid Prime, because it's the freshest in my memory, having to go into the morph ball into like the little you know, hole in the ground while it charges over you, doing all these things in 3D as Samus, you know, it really works. That is when Metroid Prime really shines, in my opinion. The regular combat, not that great, but the boss fights, incredible. I wish there had been more of them. I wish there'd maybe been a little bit more boss fight variety too, because there's a couple that are I can't remember the name of it's like the Omega Pirate or whatever. It's kind of like the same thing. You do like 2 or 3 times where you have to like blow off the blue stuff when it's limbs. But the boss fights are incredible. The world is good, just, you know, backtracking a little annoying. And overall, like I said, it's a good game. But I think I have to come to terms with the fact that it simply is not my cup of tea comparatively. I tend to prefer games where I kind of move through it fast at my own pace. This game, maybe I need to watch a speedrun, man, see what they're doing. I feel like it was just a slog a lot of the way through. But, like I said, incredible boss fights, incredible music. I do think this is a very memorable game, at the very least. I'm sure this is a game that is going to stay in my mind for a while, even if I'm coming off of it mostly negative in this review. I did enjoy it. I just had high expectations, I guess. I guess that's the moral of the story. Never listen to people on the internet, because then you're going to have weird expectations. You know, I guess that's the true moral of the story here. So that is going to do it for this video, reviewing Metroid Prime Remastered. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate comments. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people saying I'm wrong. That's okay. You can like the game too. I just don't like it as much as other people. And like I said, I still think it's a good game. I'm just not saying it's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. I do not think this game is a masterpiece at all. So let me know, what do you think of Metroid Prime down in the comments below. I'm sure I will get, like I said, a lot of people calling me out, saying I'm wrong and why it's the best game ever made. That's fine. Do what you gotta do. But I am excited to play 2 and 3. Hopefully they remake those. I probably won't really play them unless they do that, because going from this to the Wii games might be like whiplash. So I don't think I really want to do that. So hopefully they remake them, and I will play them, I will buy them, I will support Metroid in whatever way I can, because any more 2D Metroid that's what I want. So hopefully we get another one of those soon. This has been Botox Games. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking and all that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at Botox Games. And until next time, folks, bye-bye.